name is Tim Mahoney. I'm the owner-operator of the Loon Cafe in downtown Minneapolis. We have a sister restaurant called J.D. Hoyt's also in downtown Minneapolis. I am the president of the Warehouse District Business Association. We have approximately 25 to 30 working restaurant, bars, clubs, music venues, and so on, that I also represent. I'm here today to talk about one thing that kills our industry, and that's labor. And when you start talking about tipped employees, it's a very touchy subject for us owners. A lot of people here today believe that we're all millionaires and we got houses and we got offshore accounts. That's just not the truth. However, what I would like to do, this is my payroll from the first 2 weeks of February, the slowest 2 weeks of the year. I have if I can find it, I pulled by random. This is an actual pay stub for one of my waitresses. She worked 34.75 hours in a 2-week period. She made $742.83 in charged declared tips. Now, as an employer, that is considered income, and I have to pay my share of taxes on that number as well as she does. Now, if you calculate this out, basically what she made was $21.38 an hour in charged tips, plus her minimum wage. When I hire a waitstaff person front of the house, I don't hire them as a minimum wage employee. I hire them as an employee that makes minimum wage plus tips. Now the question I have for you, the Department of Revenue, the state of Minnesota, IRS, they all compute declared tip income as part of income. We pay taxes on it. But at the state level, we don't, as a minimum wage, it's not included. Now, if you think about that over a long period of time, it amounts to a lot of money. And when you start talking about the discrepancies from the front of the house and the back of the house, this year, for example, every year I do a review of all my employees in the back of the house. The minimum wage went up $1. I couldn't give them the big raise that they wanted. I didn't have the money. I didn't have the resources. Our labor is set at a certain way that we can make money, that we can afford to employ people to keep them in good paying jobs. Most people that are in this industry, I can go all the way to the top boys and girls that are at the big steakhouses and how much money they make. My employees on a general basis that are tipped employees do not even get checks at the end of the pay period. It all goes to paying taxes. The detriment to me is when you raise the minimum wage, my labor cost goes up. This past year alone, this past 2 weeks, because of the minimum wage going to $9 an hour, it would cost me approximately $2,800 and $2,876 to be honest with you, in a 2-week period. This is 2 of the slowest weeks of the year. Now you multiply that over 52 weeks, that number gets to be pretty big. And we're not all millionaires. We work damn hard. My employees, my front of the house employees, are the best. They work, they do everything I ask them to do, and they are compensated accordingly. And I always tell them every time I sit down to a meeting with them, and I say, you know what? I hired you as like a subcontractor. I'm giving you the opportunity to make money here. The harder that you work, the more attention you pay to detail, the better off your gratuity is going to be, and the more money you are going to make. And that, in reverse, kicks it into me where I'm going to make enough money so I can afford to pay them. It's a tough industry. This is a tough decision. I think it's a fair decision. I own a bar and restaurant in another state that does not have what they call a tipped. Actually, it's a restaurant employee wage. And it's $5.25 an hour we pay these other people. And I can tell you this right now, every time that we have an opening, there's a line out the front door for that job. Because they don't care. I mean, I bet you if you go to a restaurant today or tomorrow, go anywhere you want to go, and say to the waitress, what do you make an hour? Well, I make minimum wage plus tips. What's minimum wage? I bet you they don't even know what it is. Last year when the minimum wage went up, all my employees were like, did I get a raise? Yeah, you got a raise. Because they got money on their checks, where they didn't before. And now the $2 and $1.50 or $2.50 over a 2-year period, 2.5-year period, that's a substantial amount of money coming out of the resources that for myself, I'm looking, if I want to do another place, now I have to reorganize. I have to think differently. What's happening in the West Coast, in our trade industry magazines, the biggest thing that's happening in like Seattle area, it's all counter service. And what they do is at the end when they give you your bill, they have an administration cost. And what they do there is they spread it out and they pay all their employees that way. Now, hopefully that won't happen for us because there's a lot of well-paid people that do a very good job in this state and make good money. So for our industry and for the good of our industry, and as you well know, when you start looking around town, all these mom and pop places that are open up, a lot of young guys and gals that work for me, work for other people, they're starting their own businesses, they're working hard, but labor kills. Thanks. If you have any questions about how this all works, again, you know, when you look at it, we pay taxes on their declared tips. 30 years ago when I got in this godforsaken business, 80% of all transactions were cash. Now 80% of all transactions are credit cards. So every dime that you spend, by law, on your sales, you have to claim a minimum of 8%. But true to the Internal Revenue Service, you have to claim 100% of what you make, not 8%. So now with 80% of the transactions on credit cards, there's no way of skimming the money off the top like we used to do years ago. We have to pay it all, and that's what's happening. So when a waitress or a waiter or a bartender or whatever, when they get done paying at the end of their pay period, they've got to pay taxes on that. So that's where we're at today. Thanks for your time. If you have any questions, you certainly can give me a call anytime at the Loon Cafe. I'm always around. Thank you.